Andrew has better health insurance than I do, so he's gonna do this one.
We're loving it, but we're no experts, so we brought in an expert named Cody.
I think I'd take it over a Surron, honestly.
It's the big day.
Welcome back to Freshly Charged, guys, where we have not one, but two electric dirt bikes in-house. Thank you to Rawrr for sending these out to us to test and review. We did receive these, but we're gonna be brutally honest with this review. We've got the Mantis X and the Mantis Mini. It's about to rain, so let's get the Mantis X unboxed as quickly as possible. Double. Let's see what's inside the box. Oh, nice.
Wow, it's like a title.
It's a quick start guide. Looks like ways to install it and get it all set up. The charger is an 84 volt, 6 amp output. This is a 72 volt, 30 amp hour battery, so this should take you 5 hours to charge from empty to full. And then a nice little toolbox. My wife would think this is cute. So this is a 19-inch tire and the rear is a 17-inch tire, so very similar to a traditional dirt bike. We've got the Mantis X all set up. We're gonna save the Mini for the next video, so make sure to subscribe to the channel to see when that video comes out. Let's go ahead and start with the walkthrough. Starting out with this cockpit, you have 4-piston hydraulic brake levers. Their brand is Kurosawa. You've got a light switch on the left side, horn button. On the center, you have a color display and 3 different speed modes: Eco, Sport, and Race mode. You go through the different speed modes by pressing on the bottom red button. You have a little handlebar extending tool, which allows you to attach other accessories on the front, so that's pretty cool. KKE front suspension with adjustable preload and rebound. Full twist throttle on the right side, and another hydraulic brake lever. Moving down the front, you have a front light, which has daytime running lights and also a center night light. You have a plastic fender. The front is a 70 by 100 19-inch tire, 220 millimeter brake disc with 4-piston hydraulic brakes. Inside of here has a 72 volt, 30 amp hour battery. You also have the controller up front with the heatsink, pegs, kickstand, which is nice and beefy. And one thing to know is if your bike's not running, you have to have the kickstand up in order to get the bike to start moving. Key to ignition, and then this same key is actually what will work to pop up the seat. Easy to remove the battery cable. You just pop it right out and the battery slides out. To get the seat back on, you just pop it in place. One sweet thing about this key is it actually locks the steering column. We've never seen that before on an e-dirt bike, on the Surron, Talaria, or the X260, and it's a great added feature because it's really hard for someone to roll away the bike if the front can't turn. Now, it won't be able to rotate, and it'll just go around in circles if someone tries to push it away. You have a chain drive system, which is a direct drive system. It's connected to the motor. It's a 3,000 watt motor with a peak output of 6,500 watts. Another KKE suspension in the rear with adjustable rebound, and I believe the preload you can adjust at the top too. Nope, it's actually the compression, so you can adjust the compression at the top. So pretty sweet that it's got 2 adjustabilities to dial it in for different types of riders. A plastic fender in the rear to prevent dirt from getting shot up your back. The rear is a 90 by 100 17-inch tire. It's also got a 220 millimeter brake disc with 4-piston hydraulic brakes. So that's the complete walkthrough. Pretty stoked on this bike for the price point. We haven't seen anything priced this low on any 72 volt e-dirt bike.
Usually about now we would get it freshly charged and wait for the sun to come out to ride it. However, I've been waiting for this for so long, so I'm gonna go take it on the street and tell you my first thoughts on it. We're about to do our first impressions, and these guys down here, they've got some little gas-powered little Coleman bikes, so this is the perfect time to test out the Mantis X. Let's do it.
Let's show these kids what electric toys are all about.
Oh, you got a head start.
Thing's fast.
Not even close.
It didn't stand a chance.
Even with a 50-foot head start, this thing smoked it. What's your first impression so far?
I really like how big it is. It feels almost like a full-size dirt bike, so it's very comfortable to ride. So first impressions, it's not as snappy as like an X260 or a Surron. However, it's also at 50% battery, so we'll definitely test that out later on. First thoughts, Andrew?
It's fun. The tires are pretty hard. It's definitely made for off-roading. You're not going to get as good a grip on the streets. You definitely want to switch to street tires if you're going to be doing a lot of street riding. The one big thing that you can already notice is this is a lot bigger than your traditional e-dirt bike. The X260, the Surron, the Talaria, they feel a little bit smaller underneath your legs. This feels a lot bigger. Not quite like a full-size dirt bike, but just slightly smaller than that.
All right, with that, we're gonna get it back to the garage, get it freshly charged, tell you what we love about it, what we think could be improved on it, and should you get the Rawrr Mantis X.
We've got the Mantis X freshly charged. We're loving it, but we're no experts, so we brought in an expert named Cody.
I've been riding a Surron for about 1 year.
But honestly, for riding 1 year, this kid is pretty amazing. His dad was showing me all the tricks he can do, so we're gonna see what he can do with the Rawrr Mantis X. We just had him get on it real quickly, but what's your first impressions on this bike?
So this bike, it feels a lot more like a dirt bike. Instead of like the Surron, it's a lot wider, and the Surron feels more like almost like a mountain bike.
This bike rides different. What I've noticed is the bottom end torque isn't quite as strong as the other bikes. I do think there is going to be a setting coming soon, but because the bike's so new, they don't have the app updated to adjust the settings, and I think that will help fix it. Some other things you can do is tune the controller. That does void your warranty, but there are some people that do tune these controllers to have a little bit more bottom end torque, which I think will help out a ton. What's your biggest tip for people trying to learn how to ride wheelies on this?
Take it easy and learn on the grass. Dirt tires is a lot easier. Just go on the grass with dirt tires, practice, bring it up and slam it on the brake to bring it down, up and down, and then you get the hang of it, and then go to the road and practice on the road. So just take your time. There's no need to rush it.
How old are you, Cody?
I just turned 15 in March.
If Cody, a 15-year-old, can do it, you can too with enough practice.
I feel like the front wheel doesn't spin as freely. It's almost like there's something stopping it.
That's a very good point. And I think what happened is our brake lever got bent just slightly upon shipping. I've already spoken with Rawrr and they're going to try to work on fixing it. I think the brake pad is rubbing a little bit against the front tire rotor, causing that front tire to stop when he's doing a wheelie. If you're wondering why we brought Dalton on the team, was because I was sick of being the test dummy for every single thing. And by bringing on Dalton, now he can be part of the 50% of injuries that happen on freshly charged.
Oh Lord.
Oh Lordy.
Having such a long frame, we talked about earlier, how this dirt bike feels more like a dirt bike than a mountain bike. Definitely a little bit larger and just more sturdy than an X260 or a Surron. When I was up in the air, it didn't feel squirrely at all. It felt like wherever I was trajected to go, the weight is balanced properly. It's a lot of fun on some jumps.
It definitely takes them good. It's not like it would bottom out or anything. It's definitely really like stable.
Do you have issues bottoming out with the Surron as well?
Yeah, on some of these big jumps over here, it has the rebound and stuff, but you can't tighten it as much. It's just too loose.
Really, when you look at the Surron, the suspension on it, that's stock, it can't even hold up a 100-pound rider. But for $3,000, this package with what's already on there, pretty astonishing. What's your final thoughts on this Mantis X?
I mean, it's definitely a great price. When you're thinking about this, you have to put the price into perspective. I mean, $3,000 is a very hard price to beat. And when you're looking at like Surrons that are $4,500 and all these other bikes that are above $5,000, it's honestly a great bike.
So one thing we noticed about the Mantis X is the suspension is a lot better than like the Surrons. The Surrons bottom out pretty easily. The KKE suspension is a lot stiffer and helps with dampening, especially like stairs. Let's see how it goes.
Honestly, the long frame of this dirt bike paired with a pretty decent suspension handled super well.
There was no rattling, weird noises coming from it when it was going down the stairs, and it looked pretty solid.
An X260 or a Surron, you're gonna feel those bumps a lot more shooting up through the rear shock. Not on this.
These are some big old stairs right here.
Andrew has better health insurance than I do, so he's gonna do this one.
Well, this is pretty steep right there. If you're a lighter rider, you might not love it because it's so stiff, but for us that are heavier, 150 pounds, 200 pounds, it's pretty nice having that extra stiff suspension.
All right, starting out, stand still.
Stand still. Damn, he got up that pretty fine.
that hill climb right there. We've done a lot of scooters that are meant for off-roading, a lot of e-bikes that are meant for off-roading, and every single one of them, their tires usually slide out a good bit. I mean, these tires just ate that loose mulch up and didn't let it slow it down at all.
So what does that say?
19 degrees.
19 degrees. Dang, that thing just climbed right up it.
I was holding at a quarter throttle that whole time. All right, Andrew, we've been really enjoying the Rawrr Mantis. I'm gonna let you start out. What do you like about this Rawrr Mantis X?
Really, it's the price. For $3,000, it's $1,000 to $2,000 less than all the other e-dirt bikes out there. It's a 72-volt system for that price point as well. I think this is a great budget price to get people into electric dirt bikes.
I agree. On top of the price, the way that this dirt bike is built, it seems larger than a Surron, but smaller than a regular gas-powered dirt bike. I think it's a great size. It's super comfortable. And as our buddy Cody let us know, that this seat is actually so much better than a Surron seat or an X260 because you're not going to slip and slide around on it. It's got a way better grip and is more comfortable.
The other thing that I love about this bike is that you can lock the steering column. It really will help with theft if you can't really move this bike around and it's just going to spin around in circles. I'm not sure why other electric dirt bikes haven't implemented this security feature onto their bikes, but I love that the Mantis X comes with its stock. The suspension for me is really nice, especially for a heavier rider. On a Surron, I'm not a huge fan of the suspension. It's fun to ride, it's zippy. The problem is you bottom out really easily on Surron suspension. The KKE suspension on here is awesome that you can adjust it for your exact weight, and it doesn't bottom out ever really for me unless I take a really huge jump or drop.
So our friend Cody was saying that he goes through belts all the time on his Surron. Thankfully, the Mantis X is actually a direct chain drive, which is going to help a lot with maintenance as well as just the longevity of your bike. That's a huge win.
I love that this comes with the motorcycle grade horn. You're really technically not supposed to be riding this on the street, but let's be real, most people will still ride this on the street, so you want to have that extra safety feature.
Another huge win for me is the tires grip very well. These things are going up gravel, mulch, dirt, and I'm barely sliding out at all. It does become a little bit trickier if you're on the streets trying to slam on brakes because they're a little bit harder of a compound, so you don't have great traction, but I think most of the riding you're doing is going to be off-roads with this, so in my opinion, they're perfect.
I do love that this can just be easily disconnected. Some of these e-dirt bikes, you can't easily disconnect the electric brake. It's important for wheelies, and it's also important if you ever want to do burnouts, because you can't touch on the brakes and pull on the throttle unless you pull this cord. The app isn't quite out for the Mantis X. It should be out here shortly, but you should be able to also adjust that electric braking and throttle can work at the same time through the app.
Obviously, for a $3,000 price tag, this thing's awesome. However, we do have a few things we think could improve. At our next stop, we're going to talk about that.
One thing that I forgot to mention that I love about the Mantis X is that it comes with a certificate of origination. It's important if you ever want to register this bike. You can't make it street legal, but if you want to ride this on off-road trails legally, you really need to get this license, and you can do that with the certificate of origination. So the Mantis X is pretty epic for the price point, but it's not perfect. So let's go ahead and start out with what we don't like about the Mantis X.
For starters, being that it's direct drive, it's actually pretty loud. Compared to other Surrons and X260s that use a belt, you're gonna hear the chain a lot on this, especially at lower speeds in between letting go of the throttle and hitting it again. It sounds like that chain is slapping a lot. Maybe that's a good thing for you if you want to be more present and known on the streets by sound, but personally, I think it's a little bit annoying.
I'm not a huge fan of these buttons that they use for the light. They kind of feel cheap. They're plastic. There's not really anything preventing water from getting into this unit, so I feel like that could create some issues over time. And the other thing is that's connected to the front light. I do love that it at least comes with a light, but the light itself could be brighter for safer night riding.
Along with the front light not being very bright, there's no brake lights on this at all. I can understand not having blinkers on it or some accessories like that, but a brake light seems important even if you're riding on a track or through dirt trails, because if someone's riding behind you, they need to know the second you start stopping. Now, I'm a sucker for stickers. My skateboard and my laptop are covered in stickers. However, they went a little overboard with the sticker branding on this dirt bike. It says Rawrr Mantis here, Rawrr Mantis there, Rawrr here, Rawrr, just unleash it. On the inside of the spokes here, it says Mantis. On the back, you have the R. The seat says Rawrr. Rawrr right there, Rawrr right there, Rawrr right there, right there. And listen, I understand branding. I totally do. However, these stickers seem a little cheap. You can see here, this is a brand new bike. This one's already starting to peel off, and all of them, you can see the white edges around it. Rather than laser etching it into the frame, they put on these cheap stickers stickers, then I'm just not a huge fan.
You've heard me mention it, you've heard Dalton mention it, even Cody. The bottom end torque on the Rawrr Mantis is not as snappy as other electric dirt bikes. It should be because it's a 72 volt system, so I wish they just fine-tuned the controller to add a little bit more punch at the beginning. I'm not even sure, maybe the app will allow me to adjust that too. So that's another reason why I'm disappointed that I don't have access to the app, because maybe this would fix some of these issues that we're having. The range on this isn't going to be amazing because it's a smaller battery, so I wish they would have just made it a 35 amp hour battery. Just give us 5 more amp hours and then I'd be super happy. The shipping on this was great. The box didn't look damaged at all, but the problem was the straps inside weren't super tight, so I had a little bit of the brake lever get bent upon shipping. That was preventing Cody from actually having the front tire rotate as he was doing wheelies. We got one of the first ones out there, so moving forward it should definitely improve, and I've already reached out to Rawrr and let them know what they can improve on. And the biggest thing is just making sure those straps that are strapped to the box are super tight so the bike doesn't move at all during shipping.
Honestly, it kind of feels like we're just nitpicking on things. For the price of $3,000, I'm super happy with this bike. So is Andrew, so is Cody. I don't think you're gonna get anything much better, especially at that price range. Andrew, in your opinion, who do you think should buy the Rawrr Mantis X?
For me, if you're on a budget and you don't want to spend over $3,000, you're not gonna find anything out there that's an electric dirt bike for this price point that's 72 volts, has decent suspension, can rip up trails, take jumps, do wheelies. This thing is a do-it-all machine for $3,000.
If you're looking for something that feels more like a dirt bike where your knees aren't crunched up super high like they are on an X260 or a Surron, this is perfectly sized for people who want something just slightly taller and larger.
If you like this review and you're interested in this bike, please use our affiliate link down below in the description. It helps support the channel. Thanks for tuning in, and make sure when you ride, wear your safety gear.